Developing Our Math Minds is a series of conversations and resources about math that is intended to be a journey of growth for families over several weeks. Each week, Minds lead mathematician and product director Brandon Smith and content development manager Nina Wu will be talking about the adjustments families are making to learning at home and the opportunities this situation provides for changing our relationship with math.
All right, so Brandon, we've covered quite a bit over in
Too
our
bad we couldn't
last.
record a 3 hour video.
Yeah. So just to recap all the places where we've wandered through, to give some pragmatic first steps in putting this information to use. I think one of our biggest messages for, as we are entering this time, so important to take care of yourselves, your family, your well-being, just that holistic taking care. Um, and you're saying how your emotional state matters overall because there's a neurological impact to that. Stress affects learning.
Yeah, if you're stressed, you have those fearful feelings or you feel like you're not good enough, especially when you encounter a challenge. Those things tend to kind of stunt learning and push it away. So
Right.
a kid, their emotional state matters big time, but also a parent. It the data suggests that it's not how well you help. It's not that you have to know everything. It's not how much math you know. It's how you are as you're interacting with them. So you want to
Hmm.
keep in mind yourself, your demeanor, your actions, your behaviors as you're interacting with whatever subject. That also has direct correlation to students' ability to learn whatever the task is in front of them.
Right, because they're also picking up and learning how you deal with the unknown and with struggle and, yeah, taking it with grace,
Yeah, those social
um,
cues are going to be big.
for
How your
sure.
parents are acting, the look on their face, facial
Hmm.
expressions, all of that.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that, you can think of this as going through it together as a team rather than as a leader and follower. Like, you can be co-learning with your student.
Yeah, it's a wonderful social time, actually.
Yeah.
Stressful, but wonderful as well. We don't have to have all the answers, which is amazing.
To add to that, it's okay if you don't know everything. Like, you can model to your students what it's like to not know something and then overcome that and show them the act of learning. Like, oh, I don't know the answer to that. Let's find out together. And yeah, how you approach not knowing something and the act of learning is something that your students will
Mm.
ultimately learn. It's a really good skill and mindset.
You're basically pointing out that learning is not a state of like, oh, now I just know something.
Mm.
It's more of a journey and a process,
Hmm.
and that process is founded in that productive struggle.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of like another main point that we went through during our conversation is that the importance of productive struggle.
Regardless of what it is, it doesn't just have to be academics.
Hmm.
At least I don't think it needs to be. I think anything you're doing,
Hmm.
you can just model the act of learning,
Hmm.
which is going through those productive struggle moments,
Hmm.
learning from them, iterating, improving what you do. You're going to be failing all the way through.
Hmm.
And that's why it's a struggle. If it was automatically easy, you would have already learned it.
Right, right.
So it's going to have
Um,
to be hard. It's supposed to
yeah,
be.
and I think also remembering right now to be really flexible with yourselves right now. Your traditional metrics of success are going to change. Everything has changed. There's like a new state of normal right now. So what school and learning and success like normally looked like a month ago, that's just not now. And I think it's important to remember and find yourselves, new definitions of what success looks like. Is it that you had a moment together as a family? Is it that you like laughed for a minute today? Is it that you learned a new skill. Yeah, I think it's okay to be,
I like that.
Yeah, kind and forgiving to yourselves right now.
I think that's also one of those really big ones. We say take care of yourself, and it sounds a lot as an adult that you want to take care of others. However, it's important for us to be kind and compassionate with ourselves, because we are learning through productive struggle how to deal with what this new normal is. And we're not going to get this right every time.
Right.
We're all making missteps and mistakes, and I think that's okay to give ourselves some of that forgiveness where we may have felt so antsy before, having to do all of these things and setting this up, and now it's just let's reassess what's actually most important.
Yeah, and I think, speaking to that and adding to that, I think what we're going to be doing over the next duration of this time is providing resources, and I'm sure, families are getting resources and injections of information from everywhere. I think it's important to remember, like, you can pick and choose what works best for you and your family. Some people may need like a really rigid schedule of like timestamps and all that, but like maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe it works for you for 1 week or 1 day. But I think, listening to the daily needs of your family, because each day is different. I wake up with a new set of emotions each of these days. And I know I need something different. And so, add in all the other factors of all your family members in your house, like, take each day and be flexible and use your tools. And know that you can like pick and choose and curate your day as needed. And but I do think something, there are probably some good strategies and things to at least like try to hold on to. Brandon, you were talking about sustained engagement. Yeah,
if you are in those moments where it's not a break or just playtime or whatnot, and it could be a formal academic subject or whatever it is that you're learning, you're going to have to productively struggle, and you're going to have to sustain that for some extended period of time. Bouncing around every 5 minutes to a bunch of different stuff isn't going to be as effective, generally speaking. So that focus is where you sustain and you put all of your focus on this task for a period of time. And I typically, like we say in ST Math, that 30-minute mark. I like that because much shorter, you may have like started to encounter productive struggle, but as soon as you did, you left the activity. We want you to encounter it and sink in a little bit, which is why, like you were mentioning a schedule, I think schedules can be good, but we have to remember that they are tools.
Yeah.
They should, I think, from a learning standpoint, they should be used to encourage sustained engagement through that productive struggle. So I know that I'm going to focus on this, and I'm getting tired, maybe I'm getting a little frustrated, but I know that in 20 minutes I'm going to be able to take a break or do something else. It allows me to almost see the light at the end of the tunnel. What that schedule looks like for your family, I don't think there is such a one-size-fits-all option right now. And so I like to just think of a schedule as a tool to allow learning to happen. And it also hopefully allows us to not fall into the trap of the external motivators, where we have those one-off if-then. If you do this, then we'll do that.
Yeah.
Those external motivators are known to backfire a lot. And so if a schedule can help us productively struggle, sustain that for some set amount of time in a way that we don't need external motivators, then it is an amazing tool.
Yeah.
But it is just a tool. I don't think we could publish a single schedule and expect any but a small fraction of families to find much benefit. I mean, there's just too many variables at this point.
Yeah. I mean,
in family dynamics.
Right. I mean, I could see it working for some families. I was also thinking like an alternative to a schedule could also kind of be like, I think maybe Montessori schools kind of use this, where they kind of have like menus, like maybe choose 3 activities or things to do from like list A and 2 activities from list B, and maybe on some of the list A items is like 30 minutes of ST math or something where you productively struggle, 30 minutes of reading. But in some time in the day, like, student, did you do this? Or like, which one of these did you do? But maybe in List B, you also have two choices of like, play a video game for however long, or like go outside or whatever. And so then they feel equal, you know, like they're just equal tasks.
It's almost like an accountability schedule, not a
time
how
schedule.
You spend every moment.
Yeah.
That's really
but
cool.
Maybe that's too flexible for some families. I don't know. But like, again, I think the important thing to remember is like you have all these tools and resources at your disposal, but it's like you as a family can choose what feels best and what works best for you.
Yeah, and try one. And if it doesn't work, we're saying this whole time, let's forgive ourselves and be kind. If you try something and you have an external motivator, or you try a schedule that isn't working, that's fine. Adapt, try something else the next day, and just keep moving your way forward. You don't have to pick the right thing tomorrow. Yeah. You don't have to be perfect the next day after that, or the next, or any time, which is really great. Yeah. Now, let's say we're in these moments of learning and productive struggle, and we're trying to sustain our effort. There's a very certain moment, oftentimes, if you're really pushing yourself to build learning, where you're stuck. Like you can't figure out what it is that you're supposed to do. A lot of people kind of, glaze over, just kind of sit and stare at it, which is not productive. Right. You're actually avoiding the productive struggle. What do we do in those moments where we're stuck and struggling, but we're not getting the productive feeling? We just feel like we're stuck. Sometimes you don't always feel that what you're going through right now is productive for you.
That's true. I mean, there is value in embracing that stuckness and struggle. Maybe you could also like step away from it, like go outside, change your setting, do a little exercise for 5 minutes and come back to it. But like that rigor and stick with itness is also important to develop. Like you can get frustrated, but it's like, how do you act in the face of that frustration? Do you double down? Do you find new inspiration elsewhere? Try a new strategy, get inspiration from elsewhere, bring in a friend or a partner to help you work through it. There's many ways, but I think if you at least acknowledge, identify that this is something hard for you and embrace it rather than shy away from it, that's like really character building.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. It also highlights why a schedule might need to be flexible, because sometimes the best thing to do is to take a break from the problem for a little bit and come back. Yeah. And sometimes you have to kind of manage this yourself. And sometimes it's, I feel like I'm in this moment and I just need to push through.
Yeah.
And again, you're going to learn what that right balance is for you. It reminds me, I read a quote from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and it's really powerful. And what he says is, the best moments in our lives are not when we're passive. It's not when we're relaxed or receptive. For example, TV is actually one of the least enjoyable moments that people record based on his research. The best moments usually occur if you're stretching your body or your mind to its limit. You are working as hard as you can in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile, which is like productive struggle 101, right? We're saying we want you to be in those moments. And what his research was saying is those moments, not only can they be character building, not only can they allow learning to happen, they can also be remembered with fondness because you grew as a person and you overcame whatever struggle it was that you were facing, right? Which is so powerful.
And that makes a ton of sense. Like, you think back over your lifetime of memories and you definitely remember the times when you like put effort into something, struggled with something, but then overcame it, because those are your moments of success. Not when something came easy to you and you breezed through it. That makes me think maybe like a really good practice that I might do with myself is having a check-in question as a family, like, what's one thing that you struggled with today? What's a challenge that you came across today that you overcame? And maybe you didn't overcome it, but at least like celebrate the fact that wow, you did struggle with something today, because I think that's really brave. And maybe if you didn't overcome it today, can you tomorrow? Or maybe it's your problem of the week, like the thing you're going to overcome this week or the month. Who knows? But yeah, maybe that'd be a cool way to build a culture of celebrating struggle and challenge in a family.
Like, what was hard for me today? And maybe you overcame it because it was something you could have done. But maybe you can't overcome it. I mean, there's all kinds of problems that you can't fix in one day. But you say, this was my struggle, and I'm going right after it. And I'm going to do everything I can and give all of that effort I possibly can to overcome it, regardless of if it's that formal academic subject or whatever else it is that's in your life at this time.
Or maybe it's as something as granular as like, I struggled with this one math problem, but I figured it out. Or maybe I haven't figured it out yet. Like, does someone want to help me provide insight or something? Or like, maybe I really struggled with like getting through this chapter of a book today, but I did it. I sat with it and I just did it. And like, you can celebrate it like, yay, like you did it. And that'll really reinforce, that culture of embracing struggle.
I like what you're saying with this, especially like an ST math example. We like to say things like, think before you click. And this is that strategy because sometimes when you are stuck and you do want to stick with it, and you're like, hey, I'm not taking a break right now. I'm going to keep pushing. But what do you do? What's like a strategy that I can use to help myself really get unstuck? And we like to say, think before you click. In other words, make your decision. But before you just let the animation play out, talk out loud. Make your thinking overt. Talk out loud of what you think is going to happen. And I think that's a really great strategy if you're a parent as well and your kid is stuck. You come in to help in the middle of a level and you were like, I have no idea what in the world is happening. The beauty is you don't need to know the answer. Just dive in with a positive attitude. Mess up. The kids don't need you to be perfect.
Because it's very likely that neither of you have seen ST Math before.
It's entirely possible, yes. Your kid is stuck. They have no idea what to do. You walked in for the first time. You've never seen this before. And that first moment was like, whoa, what do I do? I think one great strategy is just say what you think is going to happen. Mess up. It's fine. And then as the informative feedback animates out, see if your prediction lined up with the reality. And you'll do that and you'll cycle and you'll make new predictions. And the animation is going to give you the outcome of that choice, and that will then come back and refine what you think is going to happen. I think it's a really nice strategy for turning that stickiness into a productive moment. That's one strategy.
And I think that reinforces the idea that you and your student can be co-learning together, that you don't have to be this like holder of all knowing, and that's bad if you don't know, but like if you can do that together and be equals in that way, then again, you're modeling to your student what it looks like to learn.
Yeah, I like this idea of doing this together. This is an incredibly social time for families that are in quarantine together. And as difficult as it is, there is a certain beauty there. We don't have to have all the answers, but we can model what not knowing feels like. And you could almost model that like in ST Math, just switch the roles. Like have a new level and have the parent come in and play a couple levels and figure it out and struggle. And then have the kid come in after 10 minutes. And now you got to switch the roles. And I think you'll gain a lot of appreciation for the perspective of the other person, both the facilitator and the student as the primary player.
And I think along with some of these strategies that we're talking about, I think there will be a lot of other resources and strategies we share specific to ST Math, and then also outside of that, just learning at home.
Yeah, we've got a family-facing Facebook page for the families that want to engage and build that sense of math community. Along with these videos, we'll be posting several resources. We have a great support team if you're having any struggles with ST Math. And I'm excited. I mean, because we're going to come back week
Yeah.
after week
With new ideas
and share more
insights.
ways, all kinds of stuff. How can we make the most of this time overall from a learning standpoint, and then some really practical implementations with mathematics, since that's our focus as a nonprofit, is taking all this stuff and applying it to math. So I'm really excited to see how this goes, what families engage with, how we share it. Do you have any last takeaways? Because we could probably talk for 7 hours.
And I know that
the families aren't going to listen.
They definitely don't have the time. I think, what was I going to say? I'm also really interested to hear feedback from families and what they're doing and ideas that they've come across and insights and what works for them, and how they're approaching this. And maybe even, some of these little gentle reminders hopefully are helpful to you. But I'm definitely welcoming like an open conversation with the community. I think as concluding remarks or whatever, I think, we are definitely in unprecedented times. One of my favorite quotes that's kind of carrying me through the past couple of weeks is, "You are not working from home. You are at your home during a crisis trying to work," and like operating under that, like it's gonna be hard to sustain a feeling of normalcy. And so just, staying connected with your family, supporting one another, being kind, and just recognizing that learning can look like so many different things, and it's gonna look different from a normal school day where your student goes to school every day. And you don't have to necessarily like bring that classroom structure into your home, but like you are just finding new pathways of learning, and that you're all learning together.
Those are really, really powerful things to really. I mean, we probably should have just said that whole quote. I mean, that was like our entire conversation. Is these aren't normal, and as much as we need to be forgiving and gentle to one another, we have to keep that in mind for ourselves. Embrace struggle and stuckness, those feelings when you don't feel like you're perfectly in control and you're trying to figure it out. Those are powerful learning moments that you can model for your kids, but they also, the bright hope here, they have the potential, based on how we manage them, to become some of the most memorable moments of our lives, of our children's lives when they become adults. They're going to remember those moments of how we handled it. So a big thank you to all of the families, the parents who have now become
ad hoc math teachers, or
every single
every type of teacher.
They're ad hoc everything. It's tough, and I think it's okay that we can embrace that, and we just go through this process the best we can day after day. Don't hold yourself to being perfect. We can all mess up. Let's just do everything we can to make progress and not allow perfection or a sense of having to control everything
get in the way,
overshadow and get in the way.
Yeah.
I'm excited. We're going to be able to do this
Brandon.
every week.
It was great talking about this. I hope our families enjoyed.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you guys, and let's do that again. Yeah, thanks. We'll see everybody. See ya. Bye.